And you trust Facebook more than news organizations?
Oh, yeah.
I trust my
Live
Facebook
video
friends,
from
yes, I
people
do.
who shot
Yes,
it
ma'am.
that were present, yeah.
You trust your Facebook feed even though you don't know the origin.
Welcome to the age of digital learning, in which social media have redefined how we communicate. Now, this is not simply a political problem. This is an issue that crosses our entire culture. We're going to focus on what happens in higher education, in particular how social media in the digital age impact source credibility and power. For most of us, interpersonal communication, one-on-one communication, is more credible than other forms of communication, especially mass communication. Social media, Facebook and other channels, have changed that. Many people trust digital interactions more than they trust traditional sources. How our students interact with social media should tell us something about how they act as learners. The learners are comfortable with technology, including social media. Beyond that, how have social media impacted our learners' perceptions of source credibility and power? Credibility is believability. If we say someone is credible, we're saying we believe them. And power is our ability to influence another person's behavior. Understand, these variables are not inherent in sources. They are listeners' perceptions based on verbal and nonverbal cues. And if we lose credibility or power, it's difficult to recapture them. The 6 interactive dimensions of source credibility are competence. Does the speaker know what he or she is talking about based on experience, education, or research? Character or trustworthiness. The speaker may be competent without being trustworthy. Composure, nervousness. A nervous professor is not credible. Common ground. Listeners are more likely to believe someone they perceive is like them on some level. Enthusiasm. If you don't sound interested, why would our listeners be? And extroversion, perceived as outgoing, sociable, friendly. Being too extroverted, too outgoing, can backfire and make your listeners think you're faking it. What is source power? Well, it's also a receiver perception. It's the ability to influence another person's behavior, to get them to comply, to buy a product, to vote for a political candidate, get them to do something we want them to do, even like read the textbook or visit the court's website. We recognize 5 types of power. Again, these are receiver perceptions. Reward power is the perception that receivers benefit in some way if they comply with our request. Something good will happen. Coercive power is the flip side of that perception. Something bad will happen if they don't comply. If there are no consequences, then why would they comply? Referent power is a function of the positive relationship between people. If our best friend asks us to do something, we usually don't stop to calculate the cost. Receivers assign expert power to sources with superior knowledge or skills that they don't have. Doctors, lawyers, auto mechanics. Expert power is tied to credibility. Finally, receivers assign legitimate power to those they perceive have a right to influence them. Parents, teachers, clergy. What are the implications for learning in the digital age? Well, some of the lines get blurred for receiver perceptions of credibility and power. We need to recognize the role that social media play in our students' lives and to incorporate social media and digital technologies into their learning. This means more than simply updating our embedded links in documents. We need to constantly consider cost-benefit analysis from a student perspective. We need to help students gauge what constitutes a credible source. And we need to understand how students perceive us as sources because we have lots of competition. Thanks for watching. I'm George Smith from UW-Platteville.